Hey everyone, we are Deb and Magella from the Cultural Collections team at the City of Parramatta. Thanks for joining us so we can chat with you about our archaeology rationalisation project and how we are using Vernon to manage it. And thanks to Vernon for inviting us to present. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge I'm presenting today from the lands of the Barramattagal of the Darug-speaking nation. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I'd also like to acknowledge their record keepers and their ancient enduring record keeping practices such as songlines, dance and art. So, in addition to archaeology, our cultural collections team cares for the artwork, civic and ceremonial and culturally significant objects collections. However, archaeology represents around 95% of our collection, and we hold over 20 historical assemblages from excavation sites within the Parramatta LGA. We also have several Aboriginal assemblages, but these are cared for separately in our Darug keeping place. We have over 4,500 archive boxes full of artefacts. While some of these only house 2 or 3 bricks, others house 200 to 300 fragments of ceramic and glass. We estimate in total we have somewhere between 120 and 150,000 artefacts. Working assemblage by assemblage, our goal is to create a consistently catalogued Vernon object record with a photo for every artefact. We will then use that record along with our appraisal matrix developed for us in conjunction with GML Heritage to appraise each artefact to determine its suitability for display, research, outreach, dispersal or disposal. Those artefacts deemed suitable for keeping will be accessioned and rehoused. However, as it is anticipated many will be slated for disposal, the Vernon record will become the only significant trace of that artefact. Our end goal is to realise a Vernon-driven database that permits users to compare these primary source artefacts within and across our many and varied assemblages. So, how are we using Vernon to manage our project? Well, for ease of exploring that, we've divided the project into 4 phases. I'll discuss record creation and artefact appraisal, and then I'll hand you over to Magella to look at digital and physical management and online presence. For us, record creation all starts with the data. For our more recent assemblages, we're lucky enough to have Excel formatted data. For some of the older ones, it's paper-based. And for others, we've got none. Additionally, the data comes from over a dozen different archaeologists, each with their own methods and terminologies for cataloguing, which themselves have evolved over the past 40 years. This means heaps and heaps of data that in its current formats and locations is not consistent and does not easily permit the apples for apples comparison of artefacts between and across assemblages. So to achieve data consistency, we rely on the following Vernon tools. Authority terms, complete with thesaurus definitions, broader, narrower and use instead terms. Links to external resources such as Wikipedia or specialist web pages. And links to photos of artefacts that we've already associated with the term allow us to ensure the data we encounter, particularly our more unusual terms, can be properly interpreted and consistently catalogued, ultimately making it more accessible. Next, we use the field name override option. This allows us to repurpose unused fields, such as the scale fields, which we've renamed decoration placement, to enable us to capture the data that is most relevant to our artefacts. To help us compile our data, we use Vernon's XML Import template spreadsheet. Another tool that is particularly useful due to the sheer quantity of authority terms we have is Copy to Excel. By copying the details of our authority terms to tabs on our spreadsheet, we not only have the information close at hand when cataloguing, we can also use it to create drop-down lists on our spreadsheet, which allows us to improve the efficiency and accuracy of our data entry. To import our data, we use the XML Import configuration and XML Import tools. The next step in our record creation process is images. First things first, we name all our images according to the convention of artefact number, followed by _01, 02, etc. This allows us to use the Import and Link Images tool, which means Vernon can both create the image record and automatically link it to its corresponding object record for us. Lastly is quality assurance. We randomly check a few records from each import against a user view, which displays the fields we've captured data in and helps us both identify errors and check that the records have imported correctly. Moving on to appraisal. deciding which 3 white pearlware glazed ceramic artefacts with a red transfer printed floral design from the 5PS assemblage are the best for display and which are the next best 3 for outreach is ridiculously hard when there is almost 1,000 artefacts in the assemblage, and 5 is one of our smallest assemblages. So to help, we use the advanced search and list manager tools. By conducting an advanced search on a combination of features such as accession number, material, technique, and colour, we can narrow down the number of artefacts into a manageable list. We can then sort this list by object type to enable us to view the images together in one place. It's only a small thing, but making recommendations against our appraisal matrix is the most arduous and consequential task we undertake. So simply being able to compare our artefacts side by side in this manner helps immensely. Because in total, our recommendation encompasses 10 separate pieces of data, we've chosen to record this in the general flags and significance fields. As table fields with authority and text capacities, these offer us greater flexibility for structuring a larger quantity of data in a uniform way. However, for efficiency purposes, we actually use the bulk update tool to get all that data in there. Lastly is the reports tool. Utilising it with the Microsoft Word option allows us to create tailored reports that present our recommendations in a clear, comprehensible manner to the statutory bodies who will provide sign-off on them. Okie dokie, everyone. So in a nutshell, forgot we're in Parramatta. Let's try that again. So in a Sydney rock oyster shell, that's record creation and artefact appraisal from me. Over to you, Magella.
Thanks, Deb. Before I begin, I'd just like to acknowledge that I am presenting from a Awabakal country, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present. I'd also like to extend my respects to all First Nations and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today for the presentation. So in this part of our presentation, I'll be guiding you through the digital and physical management of our archaeological collection using Vernon CMS to help with our management of the project, as well as discussing our plans for sharing and promoting the collection through the Vernon browser. As Deb has already mentioned, this rationalisation project involves many moving parts, both in terms of the processes that we are completing simultaneously and literally as we are working with thousands of artefacts, each reflecting a unique facet of Parramatta's past. After an assemblage has been assessed against our matrix, our focus really turns to the digital and physical management of these items. So this includes fully accessioning the objects, enriching our catalogue data, updating condition reports, repacking and rehousing artefacts, and also tracking the assemblages and artefact locations. Since we are juggling thousands of items, we have really tried to streamline our processes as much as possible. So with the rudimentary Vernon records already created in the initial stage of the project, we'll be making the most of the bulk updating tool. So inputting additional notes and related data about our artefact appraisal process and outcomes into the register and remarks table, as well as adding to the general flags notes field following our appraisal outcomes. We'll also be using the procedural status bulk update tool for changing artefacts from considered item to accessioned and deaccessioned within our system. A large part of digital management and record keeping practices for this particular project will be our intermittent reporting to Heritage New South Wales and GML Heritage, as we'll be reporting to them intermittently as we work through each assemblage. So formatting, creating and exporting reports of each assemblage will be really critical in our data sharing process, as well as getting sign-off from these key stakeholders. We'll be using the deaccession and exit windows within the activities module to trigger reports and documentation about the artefacts that will be leaving our care. Many of our assemblages have come to us in a variety of conditions and packing methods. So, for example, one of our most recently acquired collections has come from the Parramatta Light Rail dig in 2020. And all of these artefacts have been methodically stored in clear Ziploc bags, which are very well labelled. While other collections that we have in our cultural collections have been excavated in the 1980s and 90s, and a lot of the artefacts have been stored in brown paper bags with very minimal identification information or labelling. So our process within this project will include the rebagging of artefacts and also creating an improved hierarchical packing unit and storage location system within the CMS. So through the rationalisation project, we really aim to consolidate our storage and improve storage conditions in being able to rehouse and repack our items into uniform archival quality boxes that fit our compactus units. We'll be able to reduce the need for stacking our boxes, which obviously can cause damage to items that are stored inside. This will also create safer manual handling conditions for our collection staff, and very importantly, create the task of locating our objects within the boxes much easier. So turning to our online presence, a really key motivation for this rationalisation project has been to ready our data in preparation to share it online with the community. In making our archaeological assemblages accessible through the Vernon browser, it's going to open up our collection to students, academics, history buffs, and the broader community to discover more about Parramatta's heritage. Part of enriching our database records is the addition of preservation quality images of our artefacts that have been appraised to remain in our collection. So to reduce the handling and to streamline our processes, we'll be conducting this digitisation work as we work our way through the rehousing and repacking process of each assemblage. Although we've already captured the identification images for reference during our appraisal phase of the project, having the high quality images of our artefacts will really assist in future-proofing our collection, recording object conditions, and also it will provide great images for our public-facing browser site. As I've mentioned, end goal for this project that we are striving to achieve is making as much of our archaeological collections accessible as possible, which, yes, can seem like a very daunting task. However, we're very keen to be introducing some new features to our browser site that will really help support this goal. So some of these features include the integrated PDF function. So we'll be able to upload and connect archaeological reports and excavation documents to individual artefact records. And these documents are really valuable resources which give insight into different dig histories, excavation processes, and even archaeologists' findings. We'll also be using the topics activity to explore artefacts and assemblage narratives and expand heritage interpretation opportunities. We'll be making better use of our highlights function, as you can see here on the screen. Using this function, we'll be featuring events and exhibitions of our artefacts, along with creating artefact connections across all of our different assemblages. Additionally, in the coming weeks, we're looking to introduce a new element to the browser site, which is a secondary landing page. So this will help make navigating through all of our sub-departments within the cultural collections much easier for our users. And one final feature that we're very, very excited to be introducing to our browser site is the integrated pedestal 3D pop-up window. So since 2020, the Research and Collections team here at City of Parramatta have had an ongoing partnership with Macquarie University in Sydney, working with the staff from the Faculty of Arts department in a 3D digitisation initiative. This relationship has led to 225 objects from across the cultural collections and over 150 archaeological artefacts being scanned and published to the Pedestal 3D platform. So with this new embedded 3D imaging feature on the Vernon browser, we'll be able to display these 3D imaged scans of our records. And this is not only extremely cool, but also will encourage users and website traffic to stay on our collection site. So rather than having to navigate to an external platform or different web page, it will encourage them to stay and look a bit more at our collections. So these are just some of the steps that we're taking to manage and preserve and care for our archaeological collections during our project, as well as some of the plans and new features that we'll be introducing to help make our collections more accessible to the community. So we really hope that this presentation has given you a bit of insight into the work that we're currently undertaking here at City of Parramatta. And I hope it's given you some ideas or inspiration for processes and utilisation of Vernon CMS to manage similar projects within your own collections.